Welcome to today's Explainer. We're about to step back in time, way, way back, to deconstruct a timeless and frankly absolutely shocking ancient Sanskrit provocation. Just picture it. You're walking into this grand ancient court. You're surrounded by unimaginable wealth. Think gold, absolute power, the immense pride of these ancient dynasties. And then, suddenly, a single voice cuts through all of it. This sage delivers a message so disruptive it literally forces everyone in the room to question the very foundation of their entire legacy. That's exactly the bombshell we're going to unpack today. So let's dive right into this absolute masterpiece of ancient psychology and rhetoric.
Just listen to the rhythm of these ancient words. Varam garbhasravo varam ritushu naivabhigamanam, varam jatah preto varamapi cha kanyeva janita, varam vandhya bharya varamapi cha garbheshu vasati, rinacha vidwan rupadravina guna yuktopi tanayaha. Even if you don't speak a word of Sanskrit, you can feel the gravity there, right? This verse has echoed through millennia, carrying this heavy, heavy weight that is specifically designed to shake the listener right to their core.
Now, you might be sitting there wondering, okay, what exactly did we just hear? Well, that entire verse is actually a meticulously engineered build-up to one incredibly high-stakes question. Basically, what single condition could an ancient sage consider to be far, far worse than death, eternal grief, or even the complete end of a family lineage? The suspense built into the very architecture of this poem is just agonizing. But to really understand the payload of this ancient wisdom, we've got to look at exactly how the trap is set. It's all about what we can call the Veterum rhythm map. You see, the whole foundation of the verse relies on this one word, veterum, which translates to better is. It's repeated 4 times, acting like a rhetorical metronome. Tick, 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 tick. With every single beat, with each veterum, the poet forces the listener to agree that a terrible, grim, hypothetical fate is somehow better than the unspoken alternative waiting at the very end of the timeline. Let's take a look at what these terrible fates actually are. The poet starts with the visceral, garbhasravo, meaning miscarriage, and neva abhigamanam, the failure to conceive at all. Now, remember, we're talking about an ancient agrarian society here, where lineage was quite literally everything. The failure to conceive or losing a pregnancy, it wasn't just a personal heartbreak. It was considered a devastating blow to a family's legacy and their very survival. And yet, with a perfectly steady voice, the poet boldly claims this tragedy is preferable. Then the sorrow deepens from the invisible to the visible. We're confronted with jata preto, a stillborn child, right alongside kanyaiva janita, the birth of a daughter. Now, let's contextualize this neutrally for a second. Ancient patriarchal structures heavily prioritized male heirs for economic and ritual survival. That's just how it was. But the poet is actually weaponizing this specific cultural bias as a tool of extreme hyperbole, not as some ultimate cosmic truth. He's taking the absolute deepest societal anxieties of his wealthy audience and insisting, once again, yep, even these outcomes are preferable. Pushing past reality, the verse then descends into grotesque biological impossibility. Think about the concepts of vidya bharya, a permanently barren household, and garbheshu vasati, an eternal pregnancy, where the fetus literally never leaves the womb. It's intense, right? The poet is conjuring up this infinite, unresolved limbo. It's an unthinkable, invisible sorrow. And still, that rhythmic drumbeat of the verse tells us, yes, believe it or not, even this permanent limbo is a lesser tragedy. So let's take a step back and look at this dark escalation we just witnessed. We went from the denial of existence to the defeat of societal expectation, and finally all the way to a permanent biological limbo. The verse has basically forced us to walk through a gauntlet of 6 devastating societal, personal, and biological tragedies. Imagine being in the audience back then. They'd be reeling, right? Completely on the edge of their seats, wondering what on earth could possibly be worse than the total destruction of their own bloodline. And boom. Here is the rhetorical snap. The scale tips entirely. The final line drops like an absolute hammer. Na chavidwan tanya, but never an uneducated child. Wow. All of those devastating personal, societal, and biological tragedies we just listed, they're brutally outweighed by one single catastrophic failure, raising a human mind in ignorance. The poet is straight up declaring that an empty mind is a tragedy far heavier than the end of a family line itself. Now, to truly grasp why the poet used such shocking, intense imagery, we have to talk about a concept called atishayokti, which is extreme hyperbole. The intent here isn't literal cruelty, guys. The poet doesn't actually wish for miscarriages or stillbirths. No, this is an intervention. By weaponizing a society's deepest, darkest fears about losing their lineage, the poet delivers a massive psychological jolt. He breaks right through the complacency of these wealthy families who just assumed their money was enough, and he elevates the invisible asset of vidya, knowledge, way above physical gold. But wait a minute. You might be thinking about a counter-argument here. What if this uneducated child isn't just some blank slate? Like, what if they're incredibly wealthy, physically beautiful, or, I don't know, just have really good manners? Doesn't that count for something? Well, the ancient text actually anticipates this exact pushback, and its answer is mathematically devastating. It essentially treats ignorance as an absolute zero. Let's look at how that ancient math actually works. This perfectly illustrates the illusion equation. The poet takes all the external endowments that a society idolizes. You've got beauty, which is rupa, wealth, which is dravina, and good traits, or guna. You add them all together and wow, you have the perfect heir, right? But then comes the ultimate multiplier. If you multiply all of those amazing assets by avidwan, by ignorance, the result is zero. Just zero. Any superficial asset, no matter how grand or impressive it looks, when multiplied by a lack of knowledge, is instantly nullified. Let's break this down even further by comparing the two paths a family can take. Over on the left, we have the endowed but ignorant heir. Sure, externally, perception is super high. They look the part. But their internal reality? Completely hollow. They're totally incapable of navigating a real crisis. And their generational legacy is destructive. They're going to squander that wealth. Now contrast that with the educated heir on the right. Sure, they might lack inherited wealth or perfect looks, but their internal reality is robust, self-sufficient, and adaptable. Without the anchor of education, external traits just become dangerous illusions. Basically, an uneducated heir isn't just a passive disappointment, they are an active threat to a family's legacy. Which brings us to the profound truth, hidden right beneath all those ancient shock tactics. It's a fiercely modern thesis, honestly. It tells us that wealth is incredibly fragile. It can be stolen, lost, or squandered in a heartbeat. Beauty? It's temporary and inevitably fades with time. But knowledge, vidya, is absolute. It is quite literally the only asset that multiplies when you share it, and it absolutely cannot be taken away by force. Education isn't just some nice accessory to a human life, it's the fundamental prerequisite for one. As we wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a thought that reaches across centuries directly into our modern lives. This ancient sage used the most extreme, shocking imagery imaginable just to wake his society up to the only tragedy we actually have the power to prevent. So take a hard look at your own life. If wealth vanishes and beauty fades, if knowledge is truly the only absolute asset, what are you truly investing in? Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating ancient provocation with me. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.